Hi there, and welcome back to Triplicate, and today something a little bit different. Water pumps, boat water pumps to be precise. So when we bought our narrowboat Bonny Mary, this was the water pump that was fitted, and after a while it started making a terrible hammering noise while it was running. So I thought, oh, the pump's on the way out, and bought a new one. And I seem to remember I took it apart. Yes, witness marks of having chisel things there. But in the end I concluded the reason was the hose fittings, the plastic hose fittings had gone oval, and there was another one on the other side. That's a little filter for the inlet, and it was sucking air in as well as water, and pumping that mixture of air and water was causing it to make a terrible noise. So that may be good, that pump, and I replaced it with this one, which worked well for 10 odd years. And then, well, just an explanation of how these work. They have a pressure switch, which on this one is this, which turns the pump off when the pressure gets up to, what does it say here? I'm looking, 1.7 bar. We're going to work in bar. 1 bar is 1 atmosphere. And it turns it back on again when the pressure drops to, I don't know, 3/4 of that or something. And the problem was, while the tap was open, the pump would pump alright, but you closed the tap and it just wouldn't get back up to pressure. So it'd sit there, brrrr. So I suspect there might possibly be something wrong with the actual pump here, but I did look, and you can get rebuild kits, so we might get into rebuilding it. But I think first we want to test these pumps. Now, don't know, there was another one of those which has gone I don't know where and was faulty, so I have, there they are, purchased cheaply another pair of these, which go on there, and this has this, it claims to be a clever system, as these guys, which just, you pull this up, or yeah, you pull it up, you push that in, clip that down, and it's in, which is fine. So you can change your water pump really quickly. You just pull them out both sides, put the new pump in, push them back in. But say I've changed the pump twice in 13 years, so you don't really need to do it quickly, but then you're locked into buying these things, and what happens, I have had them fail, and it's the little O-ring that's gone just hard and horrible, the way O-rings do. But you can't buy O-rings, of course, you've got to buy the whole plastic thing, and they're not dear, they're dearer than these, but they're not dear. But then every time one of these earrings goes, that's another chunk of plastic in landfill. Oh, rant over. So, as I say, we are going to try and test these two pumps and decide if they're fixable, working, fixable, or whatever. So, here is my little test jig, which is a pressure meter. That running up to 4 bar, which is about where mains water pressure is. A tap, which is that. An accumulator, which is this one of those extendable out under pressure hoses, I don't remember what they call them, which split and broke because it was a cheapo one. and that's acting as an accumulator, and a pipe which goes onto the motor, the pump, and the pipe coming out of the pump into a big bucket or something. And this is the job isn't yet finished, as you can see. So I decided to do this using garden hose fittings rather than, I don't know, whatever, anything else. So experience tells me I should have bought hose lock fittings, genuine hose lock fittings, proper quality like this. But then I discovered you can buy for one of those, same price almost, a whole bag. And of course I bought a whole bag. Okay, so here's me going on about accumulators, and you might not know what one of them is and what it does and why you have it. So here's a quick lesson, I suppose. So say we have a pump here with a piece of pipe going to a tap, and say the tap is running slowly. Now the pump, we know, turns on if the pressure in here gets below, say, 1 bar, and it turns off if the pressure in here gets above 2 bar. We'll just use simple numbers. And say the tap is running slower than the pump can provide water, so what will happen is the pressure in this pipe will go up till it reaches 2 bar, and then the pump will turn off, and then the remaining pressure in the pipe will continue to push water through the tap, and the pressure will drop in the pipe to 1 bar, and the pump will turn back on. And because there's not much pipe and nowhere to store the pressure, that will happen very quickly, and it can happen so quickly it damages the pressure switch on the pump or the pump itself. So what do we do about this? We use an accumulator. Now this is a very simple one. So an accumulator is just a closed vessel with air in. So we start pumping water and the pressure goes up, and the tap, not all the water that's coming out of the pump is coming out of the tap, so it's going into the accumulator, and this is air above here which is compressible. So the pump is pumping water into the accumulator and compressing the air, and say the water level gets to here, the pressure here is 2 bar, and the pump will turn off, and this air in here will start pushing the water out again and expand and expand and expand and get down to here, and it will then be at 1 bar and the pump will turn on again. So this accumulator is accumulating, storing pressure, so the pump will turn on and off at a longer interval. So it will go sort of go burr, burr, which will be better for the pump. Now our boat doesn't have an accumulator, but this pipe is quite long and made out of, it's plastic pipes like the blue stuff I'm using in the test jig, which expands under pressure, and it sort of works as a bit of an accumulator. So in on our boat the pump will go burp, 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 and to be right it should have an accumulator, but I've never got around to fitting one and it's always worked. Maybe the pump would have lasted 20 years with an accumulator. Anyway, that's what an accumulator is and that's what it does. Okay, slightly weird camera angle, I know, up there, but best one for seeing what I'm actually doing. So what we need is, well, alright, so here we have the input, which goes to one of these. This is an accumulator, and we have that which will go on the outside tap for testing, and then we stick one of those in, and then we have this which goes to one of these for this pump, and this which goes to that type for the other pump, this pump. And we should be able to cover all bases at that. Now that, no, that's that. This one I put this on and started to put this on, but it's a bit tight. So this one, could use garden hose for this, but I've got a length of this, which I originally intended to repipe the output from the water pipe as far as the bathroom, but never got around to it. So I'm using it for this now. So that's that, and I don't want that one, I want the other one, which is, talk amongst yourselves, on the water pump top and on the floor. And that is a bit tight on there as well, and I need another Jubilee clip. Okay. Right, so here we have a jug full of, straight out of the kettle, hot water, and we're just going to plonk that one in, and we're going to plonk that one in for a minute or two, and they are going to soften up, we hope. That one there. Oh, and I've lost me clips. I bet that's hot now. Yep. Ow. That's hot now. So we're going to try this one on here. Straight on, no problems. So, where's the other one? There's the other one. Let's try this on here. Ow, that's hot. Straight on, no problems. Wonderful. So, I'm just going to do the ouch hot clips up now, for which I'm using this, because it's quicker than a screwdriver. If you remember which way to set the switch. There. And you don't let go of the thing. It's probably tight enough. There we go. And we want a length of pipe on the end there, but I'll think about that, because thinking about it, we have a bucket and we pull it out of the bucket, through here and back into the bucket, so we're not throwing water everywhere. I will find a suitable piece of hose pipe for that. Right, so we've taken the whole of the rest of this length of blue hose and just pushed it on there, because it's not under any pressure, so it doesn't need clipping, and no matter if it leaks a bit. So we're now ready. We're taking that, moving those two out of the way for now, and this, connecting that to the outside tap and testing the system. Let the fun begin. Okay, so here we are out in Triplicate's back garden, and we have our little gauge clamped to a table along with some plants, and we also have Trevor the cat and Minnie the dog, both of whom I think will be vacating very fast once any water appears, and I'm going to hand cam so I can get the cam well out the way pretty quick if anything happens and water does start spraying anywhere. So we've started off with the tap open, and I'm just going to run some water through it very gently. There we go. Right, it sounds like there's some water going through that. And we have a leak from somewhere. Well, anyway, let's call that full. Yeah, there's water coming out the other end. So we're gonna... Oh! So where was that coming out? Right, the bottom of the gauge. Let's get something to tighten that up for a start. Okay, tighten this clip up, so hopefully that will cure the leak. Give it a bit of flow. Ah, that doesn't look good. It's leaking out of there. So, and again, if I turn that, yeah. So this at the bottom of the gauge is not sealing at all. So I will have to have a look at that and see if I can figure out why. Well, these fit onto our pipe okay. We know if we had to soften the pipe to get it on, and the outside of these are, you may be taking my word for it here, if I can, something like 13.5 millimeters, and the insides are 13 millimeters, and this type we're looking at, the outsides are 13 millimeters and the insides are 12.5. So let's go have a look at the gauge. The outsides are, yeah, the outsides are 12 and the insides are, call that 11 and a bit. So this is smaller than these, which is why the pipe is not clamping on however hard I clamp it down. And here's a bit of this pipe, and oh yeah, okay, I need to think about that one. Okay, there we go. Solution number one, big bunch of PTFE tape, and that, if I slide that on carefully and clamp it down good and hard, hopefully it'll work. Otherwise I'm going to have to get a slightly bigger version of that fitting. Some pipe fitting sizes seem to come out of the days of steam engines, and I've never quite got on with them. So okay, we'll try and put this on, screw the clamp up and see what it does. Okay, back on again with the clamp done up as hard as I can. It still turtles a bit. I don't know. I don't have 100% confidence in this. So let's go back and turn the water on, and apologies for the sun, God knows what it's doing to the light levels and what have you, because I've never tried filming in sunlight before. Oh. So no leak so far. No leak so far. So if we... well, there's a bit coming out. Am I going to live with it? Okay. There's a lot coming out. Backing the chair away. Oh, hey dear. And there it's gone over there, and now I've got to go and turn that off. Oh no! Disaster. I am going to get wet here, and I'm going to turn the camera off. So you can't laugh at me getting wet. Yeah, but it's busted again on this pipe, man. I've stretched this pipe to pull it over here. It was a bit optimistic. This cheap and rubbish extendable hose pipe was going to work. So I need to do two things. I need to get some kind of a proper accumulator, which when I'm done I might stick on the boat anyway. I think we'd be better for having one. And I need to get a new hose tail for that. So this video is going to go on hold for a day or so while I wait for those things to arrive. Right then, the Mark II. So we are now using this, our hose pipe, as an accumulator, which I calculate has around 2 litres of volume in it. Okay, so the hose pipe ID is 12 millimeters. So, and we're working in centimeters here for reasons which will become apparent. The cross-sectional area, which I think is that symbol, equals 0.6 squared times pi equals 1.3 centimeters squared. Now the length is at least 20 meters, of course 2,000 centimeters. Whoops, that's an M. Honest. So volume equals cross-sectional area times 2,000 equals 2600 cc's or 2 litres, which is plenty enough, which is more than off-the-shelf accumulators generally are. So let's go for it. But first, before we can do any of that, we need to empty any water that's already in it out of it, for which we have this, which is a tap fitting, with that, which is a tyre valve chopped out of a bicycle inner tube, and clamped between the two parts of this. Will it work? I don't know. I haven't tried it. So I think we'll do that first. We will get the end of our hose pipe and plug it in. I'll try to. Alright, we'll use the other one for now. I know that one works. That one's a bit grubby and probably just needs to clean out. Go on. There we go. And we need a pump. Okay, here we have a bicycle pump, which we are going to attach to that. And put this on the floor, it's easier. Let's see if this does anything. I'm letting the water gurgling around in there. And there we go. Right, got I guess most of it out. Let's just plug it together and see what happens. Okay, so we have a length of hose from the tap on the wall coming up there to our rig, which is connected to the big hose pipe acting as accumulator, and the outlet is just running over there and onto the garden. Don't think there's a hose pipe down here yet, but there will be if we don't get some rain soon. Hope you're all lined up alright, cos it's hard to see this little screen in this bright sunlight. So I am going to turn the tap on a little bit, and currently we'll just flow through. Well, it's not throwing out water everywhere, so let's see what happens if I close this here valve. Now, the gauge is still leaking because I haven't yet. I've ordered another hose tail for that bit, but as yet it hasn't arrived, and the pressure's climbing. I think this might just kind of work. So if I turn the tap on, I turn it off again, and there's all sorts of water sloshing around in that hose pipe. Okay, that's way above what a boat water pump will get. So if we now turn it off now, yeah, I think that's holding pressure reasonably given the amount that's pouring out of this hose tail here. I think we're good. I think it is time to try and put a water pump on it. Right, I've had to relocate into the garage because the car is the only source of 12 volts that will output 10 amps that I have, and I don't have enough cable to reach from the car to the back garden. So here we are, that's the bucket, and this is the input pipe from the bottom. This is a fancy mop. It's the only bucket I could find, and this is the output back, and there's our pressure gauge, there's our pump under test, and there is our accumulator on top of the welder. Ideal place to put a hose pipe, wouldn't you say? So shall we see what it does? Okay, so shall we just check? It'll power up. It won't power up. Okay, works better with the power turned on at the car and the key. So, well, we've got power and the pump's doing something. So now we need to fill up this guy and fire her up. Okay. Let's do a tipper load everywhere. Doing that, never mind. So now tap open, we will see if the pump is actually pumping water and pressure up. But we can't see. Now do a bit this way. Bunch of air coming out. Pipe had come out of the water, so we're pumping air around. Right, that is pumping water around, and I need to stop that pipe coming out and above the water level. Alright, this fancy bucket has a thing for cleaning the fancy mop that comes with it, which is great. I think just tuck that pipe under it. So it keeps it on the bottom. Wonderful. Right, so we will fire the pump up again and then we will close the tap and see if we are building any pressure. Okay, if I stand this side I should manage to get myself out of the shot most of the time. Right, this is the other end of the hose pipe, which is our accumulator, and that is normally a squirter thingy, but with it off it's just closing the pipe up and get it in. Right, take my word for it. Clipped it onto the hose reel there. Okay, let's go. Alright. Can you see that? Yeah, water coming out of there. So let us close the tap. Oh, so that should be going, that's 2 bars, so it should be going up to about there. And it is not. It's struggling to get to half where it should. Oh. And that's it, doesn't look like it's going any further. And the usual water coming out of here, but yeah. So just over half, about 1.1 bar instead of 1.7 bar. So there's something wrong with that, that's definitely tired. And if we open that again, that's releasing the pressure out of the accumulator. Good, right. So, shall we try the other one? Right, all connected up. So, let us try and find the positive wire, and right, it runs, so let's see if it's going to pump water around. Tap's open there. It's not looking ever so good. Doesn't look like it's doing anything. Right. Seems I've done something wrong here. Okay, managed to prime it. Sort of, kinda. Well, I haven't. It's got water in the pipe, so let's see if it does anything with the head start. With my head. Huh? Okay, that one doesn't like pumping air. Okay, so you see that going on, that's water coming out of that. So shall we close the tap and see what that does? See, we get the pressure gauge is bouncing all over the place. Well, it's built a bit, but it's not doing what it should. So I think we are going to leave this video here. We've built a test jig of sorts and we've tested both our pumps, and neither of them seem to be doing exactly what they should or anything like what they should. So in the next video we're going to tear into them both, see if we can find out what's the matter with them, see if we can fix them. This one, as I said, I'm sure I had a part and I've obviously done something I shouldn't, so we'll have a second go at it, and then we'll hopefully put them back on our test jig and they'll work. And we've managed to get no water whatsoever into the welder, which has got to be a bonus. However, I think I am going to cave in, sacrifice my triplicate principles and buy a proper accumulator rather than messing around with old garden hoses. Anyway, so that is it for this video. So it's a goodbye from a slightly damp triplicate, and I've got to pack all this away and try and dry the garage out. Fortunately it's a hot day, so it should dry out pretty easily. So that's it. It's goodbye from now.
Goodbye.